This is Eyewitness News with live breaking news.
Breaking news tonight, the LAPD searching for a gunman on a South LA school campus. Students are locked down inside. This is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on LA56. I'm Mark Brown in for David Ono.
I'm Rudabe Shabazi. Colleen is off tonight. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson is live at the scene with concerned parents. Alex?
Mark and Rudabe, we are at 39th and Western. This area is locked down. You can see all those different LAPD squad cars that are here behind us. A big focus has been right over here at this library. Within the last half hour, we've seen a group of people leave the library who are inside, including many students. But we've got some video from ABC7 we want to show you, because right now, students that are at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School are locked down. We were told that about 100 students were there as part of an after-school program. They have not been able to talk with their parents. We talked to one parent just a few minutes ago who was clearly very concerned. Take a listen. No communication? The school hasn't communicated at all?
No answer. The school and the teacher too.
And how old's your kid?
9 and 10.
9 and 10. Boy, girl?
2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah.
And they're part of an after-school program?
That's after the school, yeah.
So they're in there for the after-school program, and they're locked down and no communication?
No communication right now.
So she obviously very shaken by this experience. She has 2 kids that she's waiting to be reunited with, one 9 years old, one 10. We're talking to other people around this area who say that this is a dangerous community and that they've experienced things like this in the past, and they're not too concerned with what is happening here. But right now there is a very large police presence, parents waiting to be reunited with their kids after reports of a man with a gun. Reporting from Alex Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Alex, thank you. Tensions remain high on LA's Skid Row after a man was shot and killed by police. We are learning more, meanwhile, about the man, a convicted bank robber who was supposed to have been deported. Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell is live at LA Police headquarters in downtown LA with the latest on a prayer vigil for the man known to many on Skid Row as Africa. Amy.
And Mark, we should tell you also that one man was arrested this afternoon when he tried to grab an LAPD officer's gun during a scuffle on Skid Row. Now, meantime, as you mentioned, a vigil tonight for a homeless man who was killed during a violent encounter with police.
So I'd like to start by a moment of silent prayer.
Dozens of people bow their heads in prayer at Central City Community Church of Nazarene on Skid Row, holding a vigil in memory of the man they knew as Africa, a homeless man shot to death by police officers. The fatal shooting was captured on video. It happened as the man struggled with the officers. Tensions remain high in the Skid Row area in the wake of the deadly encounter. This afternoon, a camera crew with another local station was attacked shortly after interviewing LAPD Chief Charlie Beck. The crew was roughed up and their camera was broken.
A sergeant and 3 officers located the individual who was responsible for this, and as they began to confront him, the individual responsible leaped up at our officers and grabbed a hold of the officer's holstered weapon.
2 police officers were treated for minor injuries. Religious leaders attending this evening's vigil say they're focusing on healing.
Everybody deserves an opportunity to be prayed for. Everybody deserves an opportunity to vent how they feel and for us to pray so that we can once again become whole as a community.
In regard to this afternoon's incident, the suspect was subdued with a taser. 3 officers were treated for minor injuries. Reporting live in downtown Los Angeles, Amy Powell, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Amy, thank you. The lawyer for a bipolar woman who was beaten by a California Highway Patrol officer has been declared in contempt of court and sent to jail. Attorney Carrie Harper will reportedly stay there until she answers questions from a federal judge. The judge wants to know how Harper met Marlene Pinnock and when she learned the woman might be mentally incompetent. Pinnock was seen on video being repeatedly punched while resisting arrest after she walked onto an LA freeway last July. The CHP later paid $1.5 million to settle a lawsuit. Now to Ferguson. The long-awaited Justice Department report has cleared Officer Darren Wilson of any civil rights violations. But the report comes down hard on the Ferguson, Missouri Police Department. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson takes a closer look.
Darren Wilson will not face federal civil rights charges after shooting and killing Michael Brown.
I concur with the investigative team's judgment and the determination about our inability to meet the required federal standard.
Michael Brown's parents call the decision disappointing.
It's unimaginable to them that their child could be killed and no one be held responsible for it.
But the Brown family says it's grateful for a more than 80-page Justice Department report on racial bias by the Ferguson Police Department. It found a disturbing pattern of stops without reasonable suspicion, arrests without probable cause, and unreasonable force. According to the Justice Department, blacks make up 67% of Ferguson's population, but were accused in 95% of jaywalking cases, 93% of all arrests, and 85% of traffic stops.
Our review of the evidence found no alternative explanation for the disproportionate impact on African American residents other than implicit and explicit racial bias.
The report found racist emails sent by several Ferguson city officials. Some of those emails mocked the president and first lady. In November 2008, one Ferguson city official writing, quote, "What black man holds a steady job for 4 years?"
They've been laughing at the people in this community for a very long time.
Ferguson's mayor says one city official who sent racist emails has already been fired, and more may soon follow.
Let me be clear. This type of behavior will not be tolerated in the Ferguson Police Department or in any department of the city of Ferguson.
Many are calling on the Ferguson police chief to lose his job after this report. He has not yet publicly responded to the findings. Reporting from the newsroom, Alex Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Cedars-Sinai Medical Center now reports an outbreak of the superbug CRE, similar to the one at Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. Cedars confirms 4 patients have been infected with the antibiotic-resistant bacteria that's linked to a specific type of medical scope. The hospital is contacting 68 others who may have been infected. Cedars says it launched its own investigation after 2 patients died and 7 got sick at Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. The ambassador to South Korea has been attacked while giving a lecture in Seoul. These are pictures of U.S. Ambassador Mark Lippert right after the knife attack, showing him covered in blood as he is rushed to a local hospital. Lippert was seen bleeding from his head and wrist, but his injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. The Yonhap news agency says a man identified as 55-year-old Kim Ki-jong was wrestled to the ground by security officers and arrested right after the attack.
2 people are dead and another 5 are wounded following a shooting at a San Bernardino nightclub. Here's how things looked at Loma Linda University Medical Center this morning after 75 people who knew the victims tried to storm the emergency room. No one was arrested, but police believe many of the people were members of a motorcycle gang. They say the gunfire rang out hours earlier at Stinger's nightclub and at a nearby gas station. Investigators say up to 40 rounds were fired and that they're searching for several suspects. We'll have a full report coming up at 7:30.
2 former Orange County teachers accused of giving drugs and alcohol to students pleaded not guilty today to felony sex charges. 38-year-old Melanie Lippert is accused of setting up co-defendant 30-year-old Michelle Girelli with a 17-year-old boy during an unauthorized camping trip at San Clemente State Beach. Girelli is accused of having sex with the student.
She facilitated the relationship between Ms. Girelli and the 17-year-old, and therefore she is equally responsible under the law.
It's way premature to comment on the facts of the case in substance, but to suffice to say there's 2 sides to every story.
Girelli's attorney says it was not clear to his client that the alleged victim was underage. If convicted, she could serve 11 years and 8 months in state prison. Lippert faces up to 10.5 years behind bars.
On day 1 of the Boston Marathon bombing trial, never before seen video of the massive explosion and admission of guilt. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's own attorney telling the jury today that he did it, and she called the crime senseless. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez has details from Boston.
Videos never shown publicly before of the deadly blasts and the chaos that followed, both on the street and inside a nearby business, played in court. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's defense attorney admitting it was him.
Telling the jury of 10 women and 8 men he was coerced into carrying out the attacks by his now deceased older brother Tamerlan. The prosecution saying when the surviving suspect planted one of the 2 bombs in the crowd nearly 2 years ago, killing 3 people and injuring more than 260 others, he pretended to be a spectator, but he had murder in his heart.
Just justice served and get it over with. That's all I want.
In court today, some of the victims' family members as well as survivors came face to face with the accused killer for the first time, including the father of the youngest victim, 8-year-old Martin Richard. He is expected to eventually testify, adding his heart-wrenching story to the graphic eyewitness accounts already shared on the stand today. One describing the bloody, chaotic aftermath of the bombings as a scene from Saving Private Ryan. Several of the 12 jurors and 6 alternates have already said they believe Tsarnaev is guilty, promising to stay open-minded, though, as they consider whether he'll get the death penalty.
The only other alternative, if he's convicted, would be life in prison. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Boston.
The Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, is facing another test at the U.S. Supreme Court. Under the Act, the federal government can provide subsidies to help millions of Americans afford health coverage that is purchased through a state exchange. 34 states, though, never set up the exchanges, relying instead on the federal marketplace. Now 4 people from Virginia are challenging an IRS regulation allowing the national subsidies.
There is no reason to force millions of us to pay tax penalties if we don't join a government program.
This isn't an ambiguous provision. This is a provision that everyone understood at the time to provide subsidies to both federal and state exchanges.
The Supreme Court is expected to issue its ruling in June. The Republican-led Senate failed to override President Obama's veto of the bill to build the Keystone XL pipeline. Proponents fell just 4 votes short of the 2/3 majority needed to override the presidential veto. The $8 billion project would transport oil from Canada's tar sands to pipelines linked to Gulf Coast refineries. The president says the bill circumvents the process of determining whether cross-border pipelines serve the national interest.
Hillary Clinton's emails have been subpoenaed by a House committee investigating Benghazi. The Republican-controlled Select Committee wants all emails from the former Secretary of State dealing with the attacks in Libya that left 4 Americans dead. 2 days ago, it was learned that Clinton used her personal email account for official business as Secretary of State. Today, it was also reported that she used an email server at her family's New York home.
Up next, an arrest after a series of freeway shootings, how investigators say they got their man.
Plus, where airline passengers had to scramble after their plane skidded off a slick runway.
And caught on camera, a sleepy driver loses control of his bus and slams into 8 cars, plus this story.
I own this town right now.
A man takes over Tinseltown on Hollywood's biggest night. He scores free stuff, sneaks into a private party, even fools police, all with a fake Oscar statue.
Jonathan Novak here. Beautiful day today. Temperatures were above average. It's only going up, though. We've got a really warm forecast ahead in 7 days. Stick around.
A man suspected in a Maryland shooting spree is now under arrest. Police say Hung Young opened fire at 5 different public places over several days, including a building at the headquarters of the National Security Agency, but they believe the targets were chosen at random. No one was seriously hurt in the shootings, though they brought back frightening memories of the snipers who killed 10 people in the Washington, D.C. area more than a decade ago. He's charged with attempted murder for the first shooting more than a week ago, but more charges are likely to follow.
Caught on camera, the bus driver asleep at the wheel. The video showing him nodding off as his bus slams into everything in its path. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Watch the video just seconds before impact. The bus driver slamming on the brakes so hard he appears to stand up. It's too late. The driver plows into 7 cars, sending one of them careening into oncoming traffic. Watch again from multiple angles. The windshield falls out completely. Behind the bus, a wake of destruction. It happened last October, around 6 p.m. in West Bloomfield, Michigan. The driver quickly admitting to investigators what went wrong.
What happened? I feel coming down that hill.
Sleepy drivers are to blame for 1 out of every 5 car accidents, killing 7,500 people and seriously injuring 50,000 each year. In this crash, a husband and wife both sustained serious injuries, and that bus driver, 65-year-old Leon Rashid, now facing a criminal charge, a moving violation causing serious impairment of body function. His plea in court today, not guilty, telling ABC News that he has medical issues, and he's sorry for what happened to the people involved. As for the sole passenger on the bus,
are you all right?
Sure I am, I think so. Her choice of seat on this day may have made all the difference. Lindsay Davis, ABC News, New York.
The only international airport in Nepal remained closed today after a Turkish Airlines jet skidded off the runway while trying to land in Kathmandu. The plane was coming in from Istanbul and there was dense fog at the time. The runway was also slippery after 2 days of heavy rain. The Airbus A330 got stuck in the grass and there was some damage to the front of the aircraft. But all 238 people on board got out safely. Some of them suffered just minor bumps and bruises. The cause of the accident is being investigated.
Well, Jonathan Novak joining us now, and pretty nice day today.
You know what this is? This is meteorological, by the way. All right, you got it. It's flip-flop. This is meteorological.
I would have said a negatively tilted difluent trough.
All right. Here you go. Want to take that?
Impressive.
That was really good. Actually, really impressed. All right, let's talk about the weather. Clouds and stuff. Our time lapse really good, Mark. Did you ever do weather?
No.
You just listen to Dallas.
I listen to Dallas.
Yeah, and me.
And you.
I'll throw out a little positive vorticity advection every once in a while. All right, the time lapse from today. Laguna Beach showed a beautiful shot as the sun set on what was a warm day today. Temperatures were above average. No rain. No rain expected. We're talking temperatures now. We had the rain over the weekend into Monday and even early Tuesday, but now look at those numbers, those temps. Highs today in downtown, 72. Normally we're at 70, so we are now back above average. We're going to stay there, but not only are we going to stay above average for the high temperatures, we're going to get way above those high temperatures by the end of the work week. Tonight, very comfortable. It is 61 in downtown, 62 Long Beach, and temperatures around the area are very similar to that. Lower to mid-60s, 64 Santa Clarita, 64 Ojai, and 65 still in Santa Ana. Very nice, mild evening, 60 to 62 along the coast, and you head over to Big Bear, it's 30 to 31, where it's Wrightwood right now. That is about a, generally speaking, 3, 4, 5 degree increase from this time last night. In fact, it is 8 degrees warmer than this time last night in Ontario. So we are already starting to warm up, and I think by tomorrow we can add about another 5 degrees to those high temperatures because high pressure is now our weather maker, and it's here to pretty much stay for the whole week. That trough of low pressure is off to the east. This is that high right here, that arc that you see in the atmosphere. Okay, and we're going to start seeing those winds around that high bring us an offshore flow. Winds around high pressure go clockwise, so you can get the idea that those winds are going to start becoming more of a Santa Ana wind as we go into the next few days. And future scan shows that this is not changing as we go through Thursday and into Friday. That is still the case. High pressure dominant over the western portion of the country, and that means 80s are going to be in store Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For tomorrow, we're still in the 70s, though. We're going to go with about 76 in the Los Angeles and Encino area and Glendale. Lucky 7s in Pasadena, Northridge, Anaheim, mid-70s in the IE, right around 70 at the coast, give or take, and 77 Mission Viejo. So the 7-day forecast shows we are just going up from here. 82 on Friday, warm for the weekend. Beautiful. No rain, just a few clouds next week, and we're cooling it back down by Tuesday. But until then, We're going straight up to 84 on Saturday for the valleys and the IE in your 7-day forecast. 85 on Sunday. I don't have any showers around. Maybe in the mountains I'll show you in a second for next week. But for the next 4 or 5 days, it's dry. The beach is fantastic. 75 on Friday, 76 Saturday. Here's that mountain forecast. You'll see by the end of the game here, 6, 7 days out, we have some clouds and some breezes moving in with the system. Right now, doesn't look like the chance is really great of any precipitation, but we'll at least bring the temperatures down closer to average by the end of the work week, or the end of next week, I should say. The high desert looks nice and mild through Friday, and then warm for the weekend in the mid-70s. That's it for me. We've got more weather coming up in a few minutes. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
One man's entire Oscar escapade is now posted on YouTube. You won't believe the doors he's able to open with a phony gold statue as his key. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes has the story from Hollywood.
Oscar Sunday is all about posing. But sometimes the posers really are posers. There's proof. Yeah! That Oscar winner is actually improv actor Mark David Christensen, a 31-year-old who spent Oscar night sneaking into non-official Oscar parties. I can go in? Getting free meals. And posing with adoring fans. Christensen did it with just a rented tux and a bogus Oscar.
It has hair, which the Oscar doesn't. He has a very smooth, bald head. He doesn't hold a wreath. In his arms, the real Oscar does not have his elbows out.
Which could explain why he never made it inside the actual Oscar show.
We made it through about 2 checkpoints, and then as we attempted to come up to the actual Adobe, we were shoot away.
Yep, cheesy Oscar statues, not a replacement for actual credentials. But it was enough for pretty much everyone else Christensen and his camera crew ran into.
Flat out saying, I don't have my ID on, and them saying, well, you got that. That's your ID.
His shiny gold friend, even enough to convince a valet to turn over someone else's BMW, much to Christensen's horror.
I was terrified. It even shows in the video where I'm whispering to my crew, like, what am I going to do?
What am I going to do when that thing shows up?
The answer? Steal the car, which Christensen says he drove for a block, then returned. LAPD telling us he's probably off the hook since no complaint has been filed.
Oof.
But even now, without a tux, Christensen and his faux Oscar are big hits in Hollywood.
I'm from Italy.
Do you know who this guy is?
Yes, my friend.
This is a fake Oscar. I did not win an Oscar.
Okay. Oscar Chalet hurt così.
The arms are a big giveaway. Meanwhile, Christensen is already planning his next big prank. High on his list, he wants to sneak into the Kentucky Derby as a jockey. In Hollywood, Rob Hayes, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
How tall is he? Straight ahead here tonight, the local airport where you'll soon be able to get a ride-share pickup.
Plus, 50 years after the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, why the federal government may reopen the case.
And Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand goes inside the caves where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, what the ancient documents are revealing in the laboratory. Coming up. The federal government may relaunch its investigation into the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly. The song American Pie called it the day the music died. Rock legends Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper all killed along with their pilot. It was 1959, and at the time, federal investigators determined pilot error was to blame. But an aviation expert who decided to reanalyze the crash on his own uncovered new evidence that equipment failure and other factors may have been the actual cause. The NTSB says his findings have gotten their attention and the case could now be reopened.
LA City Councilman Mitch O'Farrell joined actors and others involved in Hollywood Theater District to show their support for small live theaters. The Support I Love 99 movement believes that artists have the right to perform in an intimate and non-commercial setting and volunteer their talents or work for below scale. There's a proposal from the Actors Equity Association to establish a minimum wage for small live theaters in Los Angeles.
We are updating the evening's top stories next at 7:30, including the Ferguson Police Department responding after the Justice Department reveals racist emails and alleged excessive force.
Plus, the cinematic effort to rebuild Compton's Cowboys. All ahead on Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA56.
This is Eyewitness News on LA56 with live breaking news.
Breaking news at 7:30. Students locked down at a school in South Los Angeles where police are investigating reports of a man with a gun. Hello, I'm Mark Brown.
I'm Rutabaga Shabazi. David and Colleen are off. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7:30 p.m. The school district says about 100 students are on campus at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary for an after-school program. We're now learning police are making arrangements to reunite the kids with their worried parents. The students are expected to be released to their parents near the Jack Jack's Family Kitchen restaurant on Southwestern Avenue.
Our other big story tonight in Ferguson, Missouri. Officer Darren Wilson is officially cleared of civil rights violations by the U.S. Justice Department. This comes after a scathing report citing a pattern of racism on behalf of the Ferguson PD. And tonight's stunning new revelations, emails from officers making racist remarks. ABC's Pierre Thomas has details.
No federal prosecution of the white police officer and the fatal shooting of an unarmed black man.
The facts do not support the filing of criminal charges against Officer Darren Wilson.
Wilson had always maintained his innocence, including in this exclusive interview with ABC News.
Is there anything you could have done differently that would have prevented that killing from taking place? No.
From the family of Michael Brown, disappointment.
It's unimaginable to them that their child could be killed and no one be held responsible for it.
But while Holder declined to prosecute Wilson, today he indicted the practices of the Ferguson police, the municipal court, and city government as biased against blacks. According to the Justice Department, although African Americans make up 67% of the town's population, they were hit with 90% of police citations.
These policing practices disproportionately harm African American residents.
90% of alleged excessive force victims were African Americans. Police dogs only used on blacks. And the investigation uncovered racist emails from police supervisors and court officials. One depicted President Obama as a chimpanzee. Another included a photo of bare-chested women, apparently in Africa, with the caption, "Michelle Obama's High School Reunion."
Again, that was ABC's Pierre Thomas reporting.
An arrest has been made in the stabbing of two women in Burbank. Police took into custody 29-year-old Cameron Hansen. They say he stabbed two women and assaulted another last night on the 700 block of Roselli Street. The victims were taken to the hospital in critical but stable condition. They are expected to survive. Investigators say Hansen knew the women, but they don't have a motive at this time. He could face attempted murder charges.
The city of Los Angeles is offering a $50,000 reward for information related to a fatal hit-and-run accident last month in South LA. City Council member Bernard Parks approved the motion on behalf of the family of Michael Adkins. Adkins was killed on February 10th while riding his motorcycle on Western Avenue. Police say the driver of a white Dodge Ram pickup truck slammed into him and then took off. Adkins' family say they want justice.
So someone out there, whatever happened in your heart for you to just run and not stand by and be a man or woman is really a coward act.
Adkins leaves behind 3 young children. Anyone with information is urged to call police at 1-877-LAPD-24/7.
A half dozen Whittier police officers are suing the city over alleged ticket quotas. They say they were forced to issue a certain number of citations as a benchmark of their performance, which is a violation of state law. Plus, the officers say they were punished by the department when they complained about the alleged illegal quota system. So far, city officials aren't commenting, and it's unclear what damages the 6 officers are seeking. A wild and deadly incident at a nightclub that spread to a gas station and then to a scuffle at a hospital. It started at Singer's Nightclub at Center Drive and Caroline Street in San Bernardino. Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan reports on the victims' conditions and the investigation.
Emotions ran high in front of the hospital this morning when police say about 75 people who knew the victims tried to storm the emergency room at Loma Linda University Medical Center.
Obviously, they're upset for obvious reasons. Somebody lost their life. They're probably in some sort of a grieving process.
Police say there was some sort of scuffle, and at one point someone threw hot coffee on one of the cops. No one was arrested, and eventually everyone settled down. But police say they think many of the people out here were members of a motorcycle gang.
I can tell you that there are several people that have showed up wearing their garb that identifies them as a certain street gang.
This all happened hours after the deadly shooting in San Bernardino outside a nightclub called Stingers.
People were going out towards the front door. That's when we just heard all the gunshots going off.
Eugene Jones says it was Taco Tuesday at Stingers last night.
We try to make it safe. We try to make it good for the community. But, like I said, I guess the wrong people come out, and this is what happened.
Police say about 200 people were in the parking lot when shots were fired. And moments later, there was another shooting just down the street at this gas station. Police say the events are related. They were still out here investigating this afternoon.
gets pretty crowded and stuff, but there's never no problems. Everybody's always pretty cool, you know. But
Rigo Resendez says he goes to stingers all the time and can't believe what happened.
it's kind of scary now if you think about it. Just, you know, if it happened late last night, and just, what's to happen in the future.
And police want to remind folks that there were about 200 people in the parking lot at the time of the shooting. They are sure there are other witnesses out there, and detectives would like to hear from those people. In Loma Linda, Rob McMillan, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
The Orange County Board of Supervisors has approved an agreement allowing Uber and Lyft to pick up passengers at John Wayne Airport. The agreement was approved by a 5-0 vote and should be signed within a week or two. The permit will be valid on a month-to-month basis. There will be a $2.25 fee per pickup. This is the standard fee charged for taxis, limos, and other ride services at the airport. The companies were already allowed to drop off departing passengers.
Well, the community of Compton has a rich history, including a little bit of the Old West.
That history includes old-time cowboys, horses, and stables. Eyewitness News reporter Leo Stallworth tells us about it.
It's barren, full of weeds, broken rocks, trash, and even graffiti. But not so long ago, this patch of dirt in the middle of Compton was a thriving stable with horses, cowboys, and hope. Fire destroyed it 3 years ago.
I see a whole culture just gone. This used to be a place that we would come every day.
Quan Featherstone is trying to bring the stables back. He's teamed up with filmmakers to make a documentary called Fire on the Hill. They hope the film brings awareness to how much the stables meant to the community, especially the children.
They would just come up here, interact with the animals, interact with the people, and they just saw something different that they weren't seeing out there in the streets.
Where are those kids who are benefiting from this?
Oh, the kids are back in the streets. They're back with their homeboys, homegirls, doing their thing.
The streets around here are tough. I mean, especially around these parts right here are some of the toughest gangs you have. And this place was offering a total release for these guys. Ultimately, the end goal is to try and bring the stable back.
There's no exact timetable when the documentary will be done, but everyone involved with the project hopes that it inspires people to help restore a treasure lost in this community. In Compton, Leo Stallworth, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Up next, the secret of the scroll.
We're taking you inside the caves where the ancient scrolls were found, plus the new technology helping to uncover hidden messages.
Jonathan Novak here. We had a nice day today. Temperatures above average for the first time in a little while. They're only going up, though. I've got 80s in the forecast. I'll tell you when in the next 7 days.
The largest display of the Dead Sea Scrolls outside of Israel is coming to the California Science Center next week. Many secrets are still hidden within the ancient documents.
Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand recently traveled to Israel for an insider's look at what scientists are doing to preserve these mysterious texts.
They are, without exaggeration or hype, the greatest religious discovery of the 20th century. They are the Dead Sea Scrolls. These scrolls date back 2,000 years to the era of Jesus Christ, but as time marched on and the world advanced around them, nations came and went. The scrolls remained untouched by man, hidden in the caves of Qumran until 1947, when they were discovered by, of all people, a Bedouin goat herder. But who wrote the scrolls and why? The answers remain a mystery.
The question of who wrote the scrolls is one of the great debates among scholars till this very day.
What we can tell from the writings is that their authors were likely a pretty controversial group, branching off from the mainstream Judaism of the day. Highly intellectual rebels, according to Abelman, who were never heard from again.
The people who hid these scrolls probably hid them right before the Romans came in and destroyed the place in 68.
That would be year 68. 2,000 years later, the writings are being documented and preserved by the Israel Antiquities Authority.
Okay, so this is our conservation laboratory.
In this lab, which we were given exclusive access to, more than 15,000 fragments of ancient parchment and papyrus are carefully tended to, with writings in Hebrew, Greek, even Aramaic, likely the main language used by Jesus himself. They are kept in a meticulously controlled climate.
So we went to the caves and we monitored the humidity and the temperature over there, and that's how we keep the scrolls in the laboratory and also in exhibitions.
Because the caves did a good enough job to keep them for...
If they kept them for 2,000 years, our purpose is to keep them for 2,000 years at least.
One of the interesting aspects of looking at these scrolls is that sometimes you can see the scribes made mistakes. There are words that don't belong. There are edits on here. And there was no spell check back then. So when you made a mistake, you actually had to scratch the text off of the parchment. And how about this? If you mistakenly write God's name, you're going to need a holier solution.
And if you want to erase it, you're not allowed to cross it out. It's forbidden. So what you do is you put dots on top and on the bottom of the script, and that indicates you're supposed to skip that. It's a mistake.
And it wasn't always scribes correcting their own mistakes. It appears the scrolls had the equivalent of copywriters and editors.
Sometimes you can see very clearly it's a different handwriting, and it was someone else corrected the first scribe of the scroll.
2 millennia later, it is the preservation that needs correcting. The original scholars who handled the scrolls nearly destroyed them using Scotch tape to place them between plates of glass.
No one meant to harm the scrolls. It was never their intention. If they knew now, they would, I'm sure they would be upset about it. But everyone did what they knew was best at the time, and Scotch tape was a new thing back then. It was a new invention. What else can be better?
The glass plates, which were intended to preserve the scrolls, actually did the opposite, suffocating them.
Because the parchment is an organic material. It's living. It still breathes.
That's not to say all was lost.
This is one of the scrolls that is going to the California Science Center. This is called A Prayer for the King Jonathan. This is actually one of the 2 cases that we have where we have these tabs still attached to the scrolls. And this is the tab that was used to fasten the scroll shut.
And you don't have to travel all the way to Israel to see the Dead Sea Scrolls like we did. You can see them right here in Los Angeles. They're coming to the California Science Center March 10th. More than half the scrolls on display have never been shown in the U.S. before. 4 of them have never been shown anywhere. They've never been seen by the public. Jory Rand, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Very cool. Well, up next, how a local man claims he can turn your brown eyes blue.
Plus, a big day for actor Vince Vaughn, his big Hollywood honor.
And get ready to fall in love with a dog named Ike. He's battling cancer in his leg, but still getting around thanks to the kindness of strangers. Vince Vaughn cements his place in Hollywood history. The actor this morning had his hands and feet imprinted outside the TCL Chinese Theater IMAX. Vaughn says when he moved from Chicago out to Hollywood, he never dreamed he'd be here today.
It's very flattering and very fun to be included. There's a lot of young actors at 18. I was just looking to work, and, you know, if you could get a part, that was fantastic. I don't know that there was ever any big game plan.
I share this with all of you, with all the fans, and the people that throughout the years have given me a chance to participate and make a living doing something that I love.
Vaughn is the 280th star to be honored outside the Chinese theater.
Well, a lot of people in Hollywood alter their appearances. Would you want to make your brown eyes blue? The inventor of a new laser treatment says someday you will be able to do just that. Stroma Medical Corporation of Laguna Beach developed and patented a procedure to change your eye color from brown to blue. The laser procedure works by eliminating the brown melanin on the layers of the iris. According to its website, the procedure is in clinical trials right now and is not commercially available anywhere in the world. Skeptics, though, say there are risks. I can think of a few. Pointing a laser at your eye might be one of them.
You know that'll be popular in LA, though.
Oh, boy.
No thanks.
Do you have brown eyes?
I have like grayish, bluish, greenish.
Oh, yeah, you already have it.
Weird. Hey, this is not just trash. We're going to do a little weather real quick, because you were getting me on the weather thing there.
Oh, okay.
You know how hail forms? You know, we had hail, by the way, this week. Unbelievable. By Huntington Beach. You know how it forms?
Yes.
Fine.
Sorry. No, I don't. I have no idea. Tell me, Jonathan.
Let me explain it real quick. So, in an updraft of a storm, the updraft of a storm, that's where the water, the moisture is really coming up. That's where the energy of a storm comes from. As it freezes, if the air is really cold aloft, it can stay up there and bounce around if the updraft is strong enough, right? Now, as it collects a little bit more water, you have layers that will refreeze over that droplet until it's big enough and heavy enough that it finally, eventually falls down through gravity. Could you explain that like that? Yeah.
I thought it was elves. I was wrong.
Or elves. Let's check out a storm that brought that. Okay. Enough of that. Let's talk about the storm that brought we got a picture in, that brought that hail around Palos Verdes. This was from Robert Randolph. So it's all a setup for you, Robert. It's all for you. A big moment right there. Live Megadopoulos 7000 HD shows no rain right now. We are dry, and we are going to stay that way. No hail, no rain, no clouds, in fact, for I won't say the whole 7 days, but a good stretch of it. 73 was your high in Fillmore today. 77 was your high in Anaheim, and 66 in Newport Beach. It is still 60 at the coast at LAX, and we've got 60s around the area, anywhere from about 3 to 7 or even more in some spots degrees warmer right now than it was this time last night. It's just a mild evening. Beautiful. On the East Coast, let's check in real quick, because that's one of the weather stories out there right now. Just a mess all the way from New York down to portions of south or southwest Texas, where there is winter storm warning stretching all the way that far south, believe it or not. Portions of central and southwest Texas around Del Rio over toward just north of San Antonio are going to have sleet with that system. So, wow, really cold air for them. For us, we have high pressure building in. That's what this arc is right here, and that means warm weather for us here in Southern California. I want to show you the future scan. It shows you the atmospheric patterns and when they change over time. And you'll notice this arc over us, this ridge of high pressure, is not really moving. In fact, it's building in right over us through the weekend. Every day, we're going to add to those high temperatures, and we're going to reach the mid-80s by Saturday and Sunday. For tomorrow, mid-70s, even upper 70s around Pasadena and Northridge, 73 Inglewood, 76 Los Angeles, and 69 in Huntington Beach, where you had the hail this week. 70 forecast for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. Here you go. Into the 80s by Friday, and a very warm weekend ahead, low to mid-80s. The valleys, i.e., you're going to be in the mid-80s on Saturday and Sunday. Could even get into the upper 80s on Sunday. It is going to be summer-like, and next week into the 70s again, back down, cooling it off on Tuesday. The beach, really nice for you guys at the coast, 69 tomorrow, and into the 70s on Saturday, 76. Let's head to the mountains. Not bad. Tomorrow's 44, but you're into the 60s for this weekend. Really nice and mild. The next week, we're going to cool it down on Tuesday, Wednesday. And the high desert, fantastic for you. A lot of sunshine to go around. A few clouds next week, but otherwise, good stuff. Dallas has more on ABC7 at 11. Back to you guys.
Okay, Jonathan, thank you. Some baseball to tell you about now. The Dodgers' home opener against the Padres is Monday, April 6th, but today they took the field. They began their Cactus League season against the White Sox, not the White House. There was perfect weather for baseball today in Glendale, Arizona. Veteran southpaw Eric Bedard got the start for the Dodgers. He allowed 1 run and 2 hits today. Alexi Ramirez singles in the second inning to put the Sox up 1-0. The Sox added 3 more runs in the third. 2 of those scored when Andre Ethier couldn't make this play on a fly ball to deep center field. Dodger prospect Okoye Dixon did homer in the game, but the White Sox still prevailed by a score of 6-4. The MLS champion Los Angeles Galaxy will apparently open the season as scheduled Friday night against the Chicago Fire. There was a chance that game might have been canceled because of a possible players' strike. The league and the players' union have settled their differences, and they have reached a tentative agreement on a new contract. And finally, goalie Hope Solo played her first game for the USA women's soccer team since returning from a 30-day suspension. In the first half, Norway's Ada Hegerberg broke free and headed a cross past Solo, who wasn't able to push the ball over the bar. Norway led 1-0 at the half. Carly Lloyd took over in the second half. In the 56th minute, she tied the match with a left-footed goal. It was the 61st goal of her U.S. national team career. 6 minutes later, she scored again on a penalty kick to defeated Norway 2-1.
But here's a story that proves there are kind-hearted people out there willing to help a stranger in need. ABC7 Eyewitness Risa Feldman says it all started when she went to Home Depot looking for a way to help her sick elderly dog. Here's Eyewitness News reporter Sid Garcia.
Risa Feldman got way more than she expected when she went to Home Depot in Hawthorne. In fact, she was so happy with the way she was treated, she contacted Eyewitness News using the hashtag ABC7 Eyewitness to tell us about it. You see, her 15-year-old best friend, Ike, has cancer and a hard time getting around. So she wanted to make a cart for Ike. And like most of us, when she got to Home Depot, she asked an employee for some help.
I showed him the cart I was trying to use, and I asked him, what can I do to change this cart and build it so that it's longer or their size? He kind of just shook his head, and he said, let me give this some thought, and I'll call later.
That employee was Ernesto Moran, who did think about it, and along with his coworker, Justin Wadman, came up with a solution.
Put the hinge down like this. This pops down for the dog. Put him up in here for he could lay down and we could travel with him.
So along with Ike's trike, this is what they're calling it, they're also building a ramp so I can get in and out of Risa's car easily.
I offered to build this for her, let her know that's something that Home Depot offers, that, giving back to our customers.
I called them back. I said, did you guys get it approved from your manager that you could do this for me? And they said, yes, their manager didn't hesitate. And I just wanted people to know that there are people still out there who do good things, really.
Ike gets his new ride tomorrow. Sid Garcia, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Ike. We'll be right back. A special announcement today about the upcoming Special Olympics World Games in Southern California. Dance and music set the stage for the announcement of new host cities. Huntington Beach and Fountain Valley will welcome Special Olympics athletes from Australia and the Netherlands.
The world is coming. I will be here. Will you?
Sponsors presented their checks to the Special Olympics World Games to help Huntington Beach and Fountain Valley welcome the athletes. The 2015 Special Olympics World Games will be held in Los Angeles beginning July 25th.
So much fun. Well, thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA56. Law and Order SCU is next here on LA56.
Eyewitness News continues at 11 p.m. on ABC7 and anytime on ABC7.com. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 right here on LA56.
Have a great night.